Welcome to the deep dive. Today we are tackling a true monster of the culinary world. We're not just cooking, we're getting into what I can only describe as high-level culinary engineering.
Oh, absolutely. Our subject today is the beef Wellington.
Right. The ultimate statement piece. It looks so elegant, but it is, let's be honest, famous for being so easy to mess up.
It's infamous for it. One wrong move, one tiny lapse in technique, and you get the dreaded soggy bottom. The whole thing just collapses.
It really is like building a suspension bridge, isn't it? It looks simple, but underneath there are layers and layers of structural work.
That's a perfect analogy. And our sources today, they don't just give us a recipe. They give us the technical schematic, the actual blueprints for how to nail this thing every single time.
So that's our mission for this deep dive. We're going to strip away the mystique and really understand the physics of it. We're talking about the precision, the layering, and these four absolutely critical steps that guarantee success.
And it all comes down to controlling one single enemy: moisture. Every single step, from the very first sear to the final rest, is a tactical move designed to fight off water.
So we've broken this whole process down into 4 phases. And to help you keep track, we've actually named the 4 mandatory chilling steps. Think of them like the scaffolding of the whole project.
Right. We have C1, the shape set, then C2, the thermal stability chill.
C3 is the log fusion, and finally, C4, the puff maximizer.
Let's get into it.
Okay, so section 1, establishing the core. This is all about the beef itself.
This is the foundation of the whole structure.
And the selection of that beef is, well, our sources say it's non-negotiable.
It really is. You have to start with a center cut beef tenderloin or fillet. About a kilogram, so what, 2.2 pounds?
And the center cut part is key, right? It's about geometry.
It is 100% about geometry.
Yeah.
If you use one of the tapered ends of the tenderloin, you get an uneven thickness.
Which means it's going to cook unevenly. The thin parts get overdone and gray while you're waiting for the middle to get to medium rare.
Exactly. A consistent diameter means a consistent final temperature.
Okay, so you've got your perfect center cut piece. But what about that tough connective tissue, the silver skin?
Ah, yes. That has to go. You have to trim it off meticulously. See, unlike fat, it doesn't render down.
Just gets tough.
It gets tough, and it contracts under the heat, which completely distorts the shape you're trying so hard to create.
Which brings us to the next tool, butcher's twine.
The twine is absolutely crucial. You tie the fillet tightly at about 1-inch intervals. And this isn't just for looks.
No, it's about stress management, isn't it?
It's totally about stress management. You're about to hit this protein with intense heat, and heat makes muscle contract unevenly.
So without the twine, you'd get bulges and weird shapes, and it would be impossible to wrap later.
Precisely. The twine forces it to hold that perfect cylindrical shape during the sear. It ensures that every single layer that comes after this, the mustard, the duck cells, can be applied perfectly evenly.
It all builds on itself. An uneven log means an uneven duck cells layer, which means trapped moisture.
See, it all comes back to moisture.
Okay, so the beef is trussed up and ready. Now for the sear. This part is fast.
Very fast. You need a screaming hot skillet. Cast iron is best because it holds that heat so well.
And we're talking, what, 30 to 60 seconds per side?
Tops. You're not trying to cook the meat. The center needs to stay completely raw.
You're just creating a crust.
A shell.
Exactly. That's the Maillard reaction happening almost instantly. It creates incredible flavor, of course, but structurally, it's creating a stable surface.
A surface for the next layers to stick to.
Right. It coagulates the proteins on the outside, making them firm. If the surface is flabby, nothing will stick, and you'll get air gaps later on. Major flaw.
So after that quick sear, you let it cool for a second, cut off the trine.
And immediately brush on the next layer, the mustard.
Dijon, or a hot English mustard. This adds flavor, that sharp, acidic kick.
But functionally, it's doing 3 things. It's an adhesive, it's a seal, and it's a flavor anchor.
I have to ask, though, why mustard specifically? I mean, if it's just a glue, why not something like an egg wash? That is a brilliant question. It really gets into the material science of it.
The material science of mustard. I love it.
Well, it's true. Mustard has these emulsified solids and natural gums that make it incredibly sticky and viscous. It's way better than a simple protein wash.
So it just grabs onto that seared surface better.
It does. And the acid in the mustard also denatures the surface proteins of the beef just a little bit, making them extra tacky and receptive for the duxelles layer that's coming later. It guarantees a zero-gap seal.
Incredible. Okay, so the beef is seared, it's coated in its mustard adhesive, and now we hit our first mandatory chill.
Yes. Chill Protocol 1. We're calling it C1. the shape set.
And you cannot skip this. You cannot proceed if the beef is even slightly warm.
Absolutely not. Two reasons. First, you're locking in that shape. Our sources say to wrap it in a triple layer of cling film.
A triple layer, wow.
You twist the ends like a toffee wrapper to really compress it and lock in that perfect cylinder.
And the second reason is the more dangerous one, right? Condensation.
Condensation is the killer. If you have warm beef, it's giving off water vapor. If that vapor hits the cold duct cells or even just the cold air, it turns back into liquid water.
And suddenly you have a slippery, wet surface right where you need a perfect bond.
And your pastry is doomed before you've even taken it out of the fridge.
So C1, the shape set, makes the beef a stable, cold structural core. Overnight is ideal, but at least 20-30 minutes until it's just completely cold to the touch.
Right. Think of it as the curing phase for your central component. It locks everything in place.
And once that beef is firm and cold, we can move on to the next great moisture challenge, the mushrooms.
Ah, yes. The duct cells. This is the make or break step for the entire dish.
So we've got this perfectly chilled beef core, but how do we make sure this mushroom layer we're about to build isn't a moisture bomb waiting to go off?
That is the entire game. You have to think of this not as cooking, but as dehydration. We need to radically, and I mean radically, reduce the water activity in that mushroom paste.
Let's start with the ingredients. It's about half a kilo or 1.1 pounds of mushrooms. The sources suggest a mix, like cremini and shiitake.
A mix is great for flavor complexity. It gives you that deep, earthy note. But what really matters is how you prep them.
Right. Mushrooms are basically little sponges of water.
Exactly. So we add some shallots, maybe some garlic, and thyme for aromatics, and then we process it all.
In a food processor until it's like a coarse breadcrumb texture. Why is that specific texture so important?
It's all about surface area. If the pieces are too big, water gets trapped inside. You turn it into a total puree, it becomes this dense glue that steam can't escape from.
So the breadcrumb texture is the sweet spot. It maximizes the surface area so the water can evaporate efficiently.
You've created the perfect medium for aggressive dehydration.
And aggressive is the word. You cook this over high heat.
High heat for about 10 to 15 minutes. And you have to be patient. At first, you'll hear a very wet sizzle. The pan will fill with liquid.
It'll look like a mushroom soup.
It will. And this is the danger zone. Most people would stop here thinking it's cooked.
But that liquid is the enemy.
That liquid is everything you're trying to fight. You have to keep cooking, keep stirring, and boil all of that off.
What are the cues? How do you know when it's dry enough?
The sound changes. It goes from that wet sizzle to a much quieter, stickier, drier sound. And visually, when you drag your spoon through it, it should leave a clean, dry path that doesn't immediately fill back in with water.
It should be a thick, dense paste.
A paste that clumps together.
Yes.
If you can tilt the pan and any liquid runs out, you're not done. Keep cooking.
Now, some recipes, including our sources, mention adding white wine or Madeira at this point. That feels counterintuitive. You're adding liquid back in.
It's a calculated risk. You're right. It adds incredible flavor depth.
Yeah.
But you have to treat it like a new batch of moisture.
So you cook it all out again.
You cook it until it is completely, totally gone. If you don't, you've just sabotaged the entire step for a little bit of flavor. The dehydration has to be total.
Okay, so you've spent 20 minutes getting this duck cells scientifically dry. Now what?
Now, you absolutely cannot put it on the cold beef while it's warm.
Which brings us to chill protocol 2, C2, the thermal stability chill.
Right. Warm duck cells on cold beef equals condensation. Instant failure.
So you spread the paste out on a plate, get it in the fridge, and let it cool completely.
Until it's just as cold as the beef core is.
Yeah.
We're creating thermal equilibrium. No temperature difference, no condensation.
So we have a cold beef core, a cold, dry mushroom paste. We're ready for assembly.
We are. This is section 3. We're moving into the final construction phase where we deploy our ultimate weapon against moisture.
The hydrophobic barrier.
The prosciutto. This is where we turn these separate components into one solid, structurally sound log.
It starts with a big sheet of cling film on the counter.
Yes, and on top of that, you lay out your prosciutto. 8 to 12 slices, overlapping them to form a perfect rectangle, no gaps.
And you stressed this earlier, it's not just a tasty layer, it's a moisture barrier. How does that work exactly?
It's all about the fat. Prosciutto is cured and air-dried, which makes it dense, but its fat is evenly distributed throughout the muscle.
And fat is hydrophobic. It repels water.
It literally repels water. So as the Wellington bakes, any steam that weeps from the beef or the duck cells hits that fatty ham layer and is blocked. it can't get to the pastry.
So if you use something lean, like roast beef, it would just act like a sponge.
A damp sponge pressed right against your delicate pastry, it would be a disaster. Prosciutto is the waterproofing layer.
Amazing. Okay, so on top of the prosciutto barrier, you spread a thin, even layer of that cooled duck cells.
Your C2 product.
Yeah.
And then you get your chilled beef log from C1.
And you place it at one end and start rolling.
And this roll has to be incredibly tight. You use that cling film underneath to pull and tighten as you go.
You're trying to eliminate any air pockets.
Because air pockets become steam pockets. And steam pockets mean soggy pastry. You want this to be one single fused compressed unit.
Once it's rolled, you twist the ends of the cling film really tight.
As tight as you can, you're compressing it even more, forcing everything to adhere and locking in that cylinder shape.
Which leads directly to our third chill, C3, the log fusion.
Right. It goes back in the fridge for at least 30 minutes.
Why is this one so necessary? Everything's already cold.
Well, the act of rolling and handling it, it generates a little bit of friction, a little bit of heat. The log is a bit soft.
And you can't wrap a soft log in pastry.
It would be a nightmare.
Yeah.
The shape would distort, it would sag.
Yeah.
C3 just firms everything up into one solid piece. It ensures that when you take the cling film off, it holds its shape perfectly for the final wrapping.
It makes it a clean, rigid structure, ready for its final shell.
Exactly. The puff pastry.
And for the pastry, quality is key. All butter is what you want.
All butter gives you the best flavor and, more importantly, the best lift, the best puff.
And the thickness is also an engineering decision, isn't it? About 3 millimeters.
That's the sweet spot. If it's too thick, it insulates the beef too much, and you have to overbake the outside to get the inside cooked.
And if it's too thin, it doesn't have the strength to hold its shape and might burst from the steam pressure.
Precisely. 3 millimeters is the perfect balance of strength and thermal conductivity.
So you unwrap your firm, cold log from C3, you roll out your pastry, and you brush the edges with egg wash.
The egg wash is your adhesive, your structural glue for this final layer.
Then you wrap it up neatly, trim the excess, and press the seams together firmly.
And this is critical. The seam must go on the bottom.
Why is that so important?
The seam is the weakest point. By putting it on the bottom, the weight of the Wellington itself helps hold it closed while it bakes. It prevents a steam pressure blowout.
Ah, clever. So seam side down on parchment paper, maybe some light decorative scoring on top.
Very light. You don't want to cut all the way through and break that seal. Then you brush the whole thing with more egg wash for that beautiful glossy finish.
The fortress is built, the layers are fused. Now for the final act, the bake.
And the critical rest. But first, one last chill.
Right. Chill protocol 4, C4, the puff maximizer.
The fully wrapped Wellington goes back in the fridge for just 10 to 15 minutes.
And this is all about getting that pastry as cold as possible before it hits the hot oven.
It's all about thermal shock. The colder the butter is in those pastry layers, the more explosive the lift will be when it hits that 200 degrees Celsius oven. The moisture in the dough flashes to steam and poof, you get a perfect flaky rise.
If you skip C4, the butter is a bit soft. It melts before it can create that lid, and you get a flatter, sadder result.
A very sad result. So while that's chilling, you get your oven preheated. 200C, 400F, non-negotiable.
Okay. And now for the part that requires absolute precision, the temperature.
This is where you can't guess. Baking a Wellington is not about time, it's about temperature. You have to use a meat thermometer.
I want to repeat that. You must use a meat thermometer inserted right into the center of the beef.
Relying on a timer is just gambling. Your oven is different, your fridge is different, the starting temp of your beef is different. The thermometer eliminates all of that guesswork.
So for that perfect medium rare, what are we aiming for?
You're aiming to pull it out of the oven when the center reads between 52 and 55 degrees Celsius. That's 125 to 130 Fahrenheit.
And for medium?
A little higher, 57 to 60 Celsius, or 135 to 140 Fahrenheit. Hitting that narrow window is everything.
The thermometer beeps, the crust is golden, you pull it out, and now the hardest part of the entire process.
But wait, the mandatory rest period.
You have to let it rest for at least 10 to 15 minutes before you even think about slicing it.
And this isn't just some old wives' tale. This is pure physics. It's hydraulic stabilization.
Explain that. What's happening inside the meat during that rest?
Well, in the oven, the heat has caused all the muscle fibers to contract tightly, squeezing the juices into the very center of the fillet. They're under pressure.
So if you slice it open right away...
You get what our sources call the juice eruption failure mode.
Huh, I like that.
All that pressurized hot liquid just floods out onto your cutting board and, even worse, into your perfectly crisp, bottom pastry.
So all that work, the dry duck cells, the prosciutto barrier, it's all for nothing.
Wiped out in an instant. The rest allows the muscle fibers to relax and reabsorb all those juices. It also allows for a little carryover cooking, so the temperature evens out perfectly.
So you get meat that's tender and juicy and a pastry base that stays crisp.
You get perfection, all because you waited 15 minutes.
And once that crucial rest is done, you can finally slice it.
And the slices should be beautiful.
Yeah.
We'll see every single perfect layer. The golden pastry, the ham, the dark duck cells, and that pink, juicy core.
Served immediately with a red wine just. The masterpiece is complete.
It really is.
So just to recap this whole engineering project, the key was a 3-part defense against moisture.
Right. First, the aggressive dehydration of the duck cells. Second, the mustard as an adhesive seal. And third, the prosciutto as that hydrophobic waterproof barrier.
And all of that was supported by the 4 chill protocols. C1, the shape set to lock in the geometry.
C2, the thermal stability chill to prevent condensation between the beef and duck cells.
C3, the log fusion to solidify the whole package before wrapping.
And C4, the puff maximizer for that perfect pastry rise.
It really is a chain reaction. If any one of those steps fails, the whole thing is compromised.
It really is. You have to nail every intermediate step.
So you, listening, now have the knowledge not just of the recipe, but of the methodology, the preventative science behind it all.
You're equipped to be a kitchen engineer.
And that leads us to our final thought. The Wellington proves that culinary excellence is as much about chilling and resting, about managing temperature down, as it is about heating things up.
It's so true. The entire structure is managed by these cycles of hot and cold.
So it makes you think about layering in a different way, not just for flavor, but for technical resilience. What other classic dishes rely on that same principle, that rigorous oscillating sequence of heating, chilling, stabilizing, and reheating to achieve perfection?
Think about a complex terrine, or even a perfect high-rising souffle. Look for those moments in the recipe where it tells you to chill or rest something. That's not a suggestion. That's a structural command.
That's where the real mastery is.
That's the path.
We'll see you next time for the next deep dive.